where we're going to discuss the topic of driving and maintaining catering sales. I'm joined by Jessica Serrano, Chief Marketing Officer at DIG, and Tracy Evolio, Chief Sales Officer at New Catering Connections. And they're both two amazing thought leaders when it comes to sales and marketing. Super excited about this conversation. Would you mind sharing a brief introduction about yourself? Maybe we can start with Tracy first, and then we'll move on to Jessica.
Of course. Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for having me, Aria. I always get so excited to talk catering with all of the peers in this industry. I'm the Chief Sales Officer with New Catering Connections. We offer fractional catering sales support to restaurants. I'm a restaurant lifer. I've been in the industry for 30 years. I don't know how it's been that long, but specifically within the catering space for the last few decades. And it's really where my passion and my heart lives. And my goal has always been to support the restaurants to be successful in this catering journey, and just to offer as much support in any capacity there is. And sales is in my blood. That's what I've done my whole career. And we just found, and felt like it was such a piece that was missing in the support realm for the restaurant space as it related to catering. So it's been an incredible 2-year journey with New Catering Connections, and we're so thrilled to see what the future brings for us. But thanks for having me today.
Of course, thanks for being with us. Jessica?
Hi, everyone. Jessica Serrano, CMO at DIG. For those of you who aren't familiar with the concept, we have over 34 locations in the Northeast. It's a fast casual chain. I would describe our food as healthy, modern, American, and seasonally scratch cooked.
Amazing. Thank you both for being here. I really appreciate your time. But because we don't have a lot of time, let's dive right into it. So one of the main questions or decisions that restaurant brands need to make right off the bat when they start to maybe when they make a decision to prioritize catering, or they want to really invest in catering, the main decision that they have to make is whether they want to hire their own team, their own sales team, or they want to delegate it to other companies like New Catering Connections, right? So Tracy, my question from you is, what are the differences here between the two alternatives, and how can restaurant brands decide which one is a better fit for them?
Yeah, great question. And we hear that on a daily basis. And it goes, it's very similar to what Earl was talking about with tech. I think it really begins with, where are you with your catering journey as a brand or as a restaurant? Listen, I'm always, and I will always remain in the camp of, if it's viable for you financially, to hire your own catering salesperson, that's the ideal situation for sure. But not everybody's at that stage with their catering program. So that's when outsourcing becomes a good option for you. If you're just getting started in the catering space and you don't have enough sales to warrant that, we can be a stepping stone until your catering program grows to a point where it makes sense for you to bring in your own catering salesperson. Or, you may have had some CSMs that are no longer with you, but you don't want to lose any momentum while you're in that interim stage of bringing a new person in. Outsourcing, it can keep all of that activity happening on a consistent basis. Or you may be a brand that has very high density in a handful of markets, where again, it's a good idea to have a full-time catering salesperson supporting those larger markets, but you may want some different kind of support in smaller markets across the country. And that's where you can even have a combination of internal and outsourced catering sales efforts. One thing I would say, if you do hire your own catering salesperson, it's important to look at that as a long-term investment. Just like anything else, it's going to take time to gain momentum and for that program to grow and for that person to be able to pay for themselves. So as long as you have sort of that mindset that it's an investment in the long-term growth of the program, internal is great, but outsourcing is always a viable option.
Is it fair to say if you want to get a super quick ROI, then it's good to outsource it? But if you want to have a long-term success, then it's better to hire your own sales team?
I think time is important regardless, whether it's internal or external, because it's still, it's that human to human engagement. It's that multi-layered outreach. It's the development of relationships. and it's specific timing when events are happening and when the need is there. So, outsourcing it is not going to be an instant fix, an instant ROI. It still will take some time to develop for sure. But both are great options.
Totally. Thank you. Jessica, I know that you built your own sales team at Dig. May I ask why you chose that option and what do you think about the pros and cons of that option?
Yeah, for a lot of the reasons that Tracy described. I mean, we've been around since 2011, so we do have a very mature catering business. It's a significant percentage of our sales, and the vast majority of that business is still first party. And we are highly concentrated in urban markets. So, but we made that decision relatively recently. So we decided to build this function last year, and we started with one rep in Boston, and we completely saw the value of it. And so we just kind of started slowly building it out from there. We've been really pleased with the results.
Interesting. Thank you for sharing that. But regardless of which path restaurants take, both are viable options. Either they can hire their own sales team or they can outsource it. One thing that remains the same is customer relationship management, and specifically customer touch points, right? Mm-hmm. Tracy, what are the main touch points with customers that brand needs to be aware of when it comes to catering?
I think for the catering sales journey, I think it's important to say before even thinking about the touch points and engaging with businesses, is there should be some research and strategy behind who you're going to reach out to. Byron and I always laugh, back in the day, it was like, get the yellow pages out and just dial for dollars. But for salespeople, we want to make sure that, the active selling hours are as efficient and as effective as possible. So it's important to kind of strategize before you start to do that, to make sure you're calling the right businesses and calling them at the right time. Pick the business categories that cater consistently across the year, but then be very cognizant of the calendar and what's happening, what events are taking place. And then make sure you're calling those particular businesses that have those needs, and get ahead of those opportunities. As far as the additional touch points, that initial outreach, for me, I always want it to come across as very fluid, conversational, even consultative. It's really, catering still about relationships. So you don't want it to feel like a scripted cold call, telemarketing call. You want it to be an engaging conversation where you're building relationships and offering solutions. And I'm old school. I feel like you have to touch somebody at least 7 times for the message to stick, or for them to be willing to make a change, to do something different, or they may love you, they just may not have anything for a month and a half. So having multiple layers of outreach, different tactics of outreach, but also when you are reaching out to businesses, that you're not just calling and begging for catering orders, that you're furthering that relationship development. You're providing something new that you haven't shared before that's valuable to them. And then once you get them to placing an order, catering follow-up calls to me, it's one of the easiest sales calls you can make. You want to follow up, see how that experience was. If something went awry, it gives you a quick opportunity to rectify the situation and maintain that guest. But if they've also just had the best experience ever, there's no better time than now than to ask them if there's anything else in the future you can take off their plate. And then it's really just about maintaining the relationships from there. For me, it's important to make sure you're calling, I call them your top dogs, those that are spending regularly with you. Every so often, just make sure you're calling and checking in. Say hello, I appreciate you. Maintain those relationships. And then just, if your team has a CRM tool that you're using, it's imperative to be kind of putting notes in your system so you can remember what you've learned in conversations about what they have coming up, and making sure that you're just consistently staying in touch with people and trying to do it at the appropriate times. And then it's just really maintaining those relationships and then bringing all the new folks in the funnel as well.
Totally. We'll definitely come back to the CRM conversation, but I want to kind of ask a similar question from Jessica. Which touch points do you guys prioritize at Dig? And what practices have you implemented to make each touch point more impactful?
Yeah, I mean, they're all very critical, but I will say, you know, when we think about the top of the funnel, before we even are picking up the phone or trying to communicate anything externally, do we have the right product offering? And do we have the right user interface, user experience? So we're constantly trying to work to make it as easy as possible to understand our offering, how much it costs, and reduce any friction. I mean, you know, if you come into our restaurants, maybe you're spending $15, $20, but a catering order is hundreds of dollars. That's a pretty big decision point for most people. So we want to make it as easy as possible for them to understand what they're ordering and what they can expect. And then once we do that, I agree with Tracy that, you know, the thank you email is one of the most powerful tools in terms of shortening the sales cycle. One, we're making sure that we're recovering anybody that had a less than stellar experience. And then two, we're getting that next order. The other part of our business that we've invested in quite a bit in spirit of fostering our catering business is the guest experience, you know, customer experience, GX, CX, whatever you want to call it, and making sure that we have a robust team of agents that are able to pick up the phone and either take your order or, you know, address any issues that you're having with late items, missed items, poor experience. So just making sure that you trust that when you spend your money at Dig, there's going to be somebody there to pick up the phone and make it right if we've missed anything.
Amazing. Thank you for sharing that. It looks like, you know, one of the most important touch points is the follow-up call or email after the order is placed, which I still see a lot of restaurant brands don't do this. It's a very easy thing to do and very impactful, but still it's surprising that many restaurant brands don't do this at all. But let's maybe switch our focus to the conversation about CRM in catering sales, as Tracy brought it up. Another big component of having an effective sales team and sales effort is having a practical and efficient way to manage our customer relationships, right? Using CRM tools. And many emerging brands, when I talk to them on a day-to-day basis, they still rely on pen and paper and Excel sheets to manage their customers. So Jessica, which CRM do you use, does your team use for catering sales? And why do you think it's critical to have a CRM tool for catering?
We actually use HubSpot, which is just a general, you know, sales tool. I know there are lots of catering specific tools out there. And again, that's something that we invested in recently, and we are very happy with that investment and are continuing to invest in optimizing it to work even harder for us. But essentially what it allows us to do is basically create a pipeline and understand where people are in that flow. And then we're able to set up sequences so that we're messaging them and exiting them out of that funnel once they've transacted with us. And it has really just made the reps' job so much more efficient. So highly recommend investing in a tool like a HubSpot or a comparable one.
Totally, totally. And I believe Tracy and the team are using CRM called Close, right?
Yep.
Why Close?
We love it. It's been an amazing tool for our team. It's developed specifically for sales activity, where I think some of the others are more marketing related. And so it's just it's a way to help you stay organized and on track with all your activities. You don't ever have to try to remember what happened or what am I supposed to do next. But it's the CRM, plus it's all full communication. So we can do all of our phone calls through that system, all of our emails, text messages, voicemails, everything. So everything is stored and tracked. So you've got that lifetime chronological history, and you can always go back and listen to calls or see what happened. And then same with Jessica, you know, we can be tasking ourselves for additional activities, and then we can also put in sequences and workflows to automate some of that as well. But then on the flip side too, it allows us to really track our sales metrics. So we can be seeing how many businesses are we calling, how many are qualified, how many are interested, how long are our phone conversations, how many engagements is it taking before we're able to close on an order. And so it's the great tool for the team members, and also for us to, you know, tweak our sales process as it's needed, and just to ensure that the process is working.
Totally, that makes a lot of sense. I personally use Close as well, and I do test to all of those things that you mentioned.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, I know Byron loves it too. So
Yeah.
So next topic that was covered extensively during the conference was third-party to first-party conversion. Obviously, there are various ways and strategies that we can use. We can achieve this goal. But one interesting number that was shared, I believe, during the conference was that, and this I think is really worth mentioning here, is that in catering, third-party orders should be 20 to 25% of your total orders. That means 80% of your orders should come from first party. And a lot of people, a lot of restaurant brands might think this is not achievable. 80% first party sounds a little far-fetched to a lot of restaurant brands, but I know Jessica and her team, they made that happen, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
So Jessica, if you want to share some of the methods that you guys are using to have 80% of your orders to be first party, if you can share some of that, some of those methods with people, that'd be amazing.
Yeah, I mean, part of the challenge is never never losing them to third party to begin with, I think is the first step. But ultimately, you just have to, we think about it in the mind of the guest and what is it that third party is offering that native doesn't, right? And it's variety. And so one of the things that we have found to be an effective tool of making it worth it to, order directly with us is having exclusive items that are only available on our site. So, we're all in the thick of holiday catering. We made a decision to not offer our Thanksgiving offering on third-party platforms. And that was a powerful tool, one, not only of preserving our first party, but it did encourage some of our customers who maybe would have placed orders otherwise to come back to us because they wanted that turkey. So, you have to have the right offerings to really make it special, because you don't want to add friction for friction's sake, but just constantly thinking about what are the ways that we can make it special and painless and no brainer for the guest to order directly from us. And we're just constantly investing in our experience so that we keep that guest happy.
Arya, I think
Arya,
we
we
lost your
lost your
voice.
volume.
We can't hear you, Arya.
That was a
Still
good
can't hear you.
lip reader. I could speak for you, but
How's it now? Better?
There
Yep.
you go.
You're
There you
back.
go.
Thank you. Thank you for the feedback. I said, what a brilliant way to convert people from third-party tools or softwares to first-party. Thank you for sharing that. Jessica, sorry, Tracy, would you be able to also expand on using other strategies such as catering rewards and cashback as a method to do this?
Yeah. Just one quick thing I wanted to add onto what Jessica's saying. There's things you can do within the four walls of your restaurant to grow your catering sales that don't cost anything. And that's really just engaging your entire team in the restaurant with your guests. Those are they're fans of yours already. So it's just talk to them about catering. But then on the reward side, I mean, everybody loves a good reward. And I think sort of every business genre is doing that today. And back in the day when catering rewards were just kind of entering the space, it was a lot of gift cards back to the restaurant or a percentage off of the next catering order. And that's shifted greatly because those things just weren't really driving action with the decision maker because they're not spending their own money. And so, those are nice things to have. But when there's a reward that personally benefits that decision maker, that's what really drives action. I mean, everybody loves their Amazon gift cards. And so that's an important tool to have.
Totally. And if personally, if I get 3% cash back on the marketplace and I get 8% cash back on the first party,
Right.
I would make take the leap to go place an order on the first party online ordering. But that's all we wanted to discuss on this panel. Thank you both for taking the time to share all of your insights. Really appreciate you taking time. We're going to move on to the next panel where we're going to discuss catering